First of all, good afternoon. Welcome everybody to the latest in our series of Providence ORIS webinars. My name is James Redd. I'm with Providence, and today we're going to be going over the new features in our recently released AERMOD Wizard version 1.09. So just by way of a quick overview, and then we'll talk about each of these in a little more detail. This new version has more recent or newer EPA ambient monitoring data. If you've used AERMOD Wizard before, you know that you have access to EPA's National Emissions Inventory. It was the 2017 set, but this has now been updated to the 2020 set. We now can download the 1 minute and 5 minute ASOS surface meteorological data from a new website that we'll talk about here in a little bit. We have updated the trajectory interface in AERMOD Wizard, specifically you being able to use 1 minute ASOS data with it. We'll talk about that. The class 1 area receptors and boundaries, which you've been able to see on screen in AERMOD Wizard. You can now export those to Google Earth along with several other on-screen options. We'll talk about how the AERMET user interface that's in AERMOD Wizard now runs EPA's AERMET version 23132, which is the most recent version. And then finally, we'll talk about the find function that's in AERMOD Wizard and what you can do with it. So starting off the new ambient monitoring data, you can now download ambient data for all the criteria pollutants that were uploaded by US EPA at least through June of 2023. Now there are some ozone and SO2 stations that actually have uploaded data that goes through October of 2023. But June is for all stations. And what this also means, therefore, is that if you're doing AERMOD modeling and you need to generate an ambient background file for a particular pollutant, whether it's PM2.5 or NO2 or SO2, what have you, now you can do it for the 3-year period of 2020 through 2022. So here's a screenshot of AERMOD Wizard. And if you look on the left-hand side, there's a little drop down that tells it what pollutant you're interested in. And then down below is a checkbox for monitors. And when you have the checkbox for monitors selected and you have the pollutant that you want there, AERMOD Wizard will display on screen these little, and they're hard to see, and I apologize, these little icons, the letter N for NO2. And if we explore that a little bit, we'll pick this site up here. This is this location we're looking at. This is the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas metro area. And this little N up here is a monitoring station that if you are an AERMOD Wizard and you put your cursor over the little N, you get a pop-up that says, oh, this is the Denton monitor in Denton County, Texas. There's the EPA identifier 48-121-0034. It tells you when it started and stopped collecting data. There's the location and latitude, longitude, and UTM. And then when it started collecting NO2 data and when it stopped, or the data that it has most recently. And so here you see this, the end date is June 30th, 2023. So that tells you you've got NO2 data through that point in time. So if we go ahead and left click that little N, AERMOD Wizard puts a circle with a hatching over it, which marks the station. And then you can go to the monitors drop down at the top of the page, and you'll get an option that says download the monitoring data. And so this is where you can go tell AERMOD Wizard, I want to get this many years of NO2, in this case, monitoring data. So you get a pop-up, and we have checkboxes that go all the way back to 2000. That's the most recent, or the sorry, not the most, the oldest data that you can download through AERMOD Wizard. Down here at the bottom, there's 2022, 2023, and 2024. Again, 2022, we have the complete year there now. Data for 2023, in some cases, is also available. And 2024 is there's kind of, it's a placeholder. There's no 2024 data yet, but as that data is uploaded to the system, you'll then be able to download it through AERMOD Wizard. So just two notes there that 2023 is incomplete, and there's nothing yet for 2024. Obviously, when we update AERMOD Wizard next year, we'll change that, and they'll say probably 2025, no data available. And 2024 will be either complete or incomplete, depending on when AERMOD Wizard comes out, or when EPA updates their ambient data set. So again, if you go and check whatever year you want, and then when you do that, it'll activate this download button, and then AERMOD Wizard goes and grabs the data for you automatically and downloads it to your computer. So again, we now have the ability to download more recent ambient data from EPA system. Changing directions here, we're just going to talk about the NEI, or National Emissions Inventory data. And this data set is based on data reported to EPA. It's been QA'd by the states. It comes out on every 3-year schedule. And so prior to this version of AERMOD Wizard coming out, we were dealing with the 2017 NEI data. Well, now, since 2020 data is out, we have this that we can see on screen. And so again, looking at the left-hand side, there's a checkbox for NEI sources. And so when you click it, AERMOD Wizard plots all the locations and labels for all of these sources that report to the NEI. And again, this is the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. And if you go to the current pollutant up there, if you remember before, when we talked about ambient data, that's at NO2. This says NOx because emissions are typically reported as NOx and not NO2. So in this case, we're looking at all of the facilities that are reporting NOx emissions. So if you are interested in some facility and it doesn't show up on this map, you can assume that no emissions of that pollutant are reported for that facility. So you may have a site that actually doesn't or didn't report any NOx emissions, and so they would not show up on here. If you picked another pollutant like PM2.5 and it did emit PM2.5, then it would show up. But in this example, we're just looking at emissions of NOx. So one other thing to note here, again, on the left-hand side of the screen, we have a button called Options. And if you click it and go to the far right tab, it says NEI Sources. And this is just a way for you to decide how you want these labels for each of these facilities shown. And so they range from no label at all, which is the top one there, or just the letters NEI, meaning it's an NEI source, just the letter I, or probably more likely you'll want to have something like the EIS identification number, or the first 10 letters of the source or facility's name, or the last one here, which is what actually we have checked on screen, is the current pollutant emission rates above 0.01 tons per year. So what you're seeing on screen is what the NOx emissions are for each of these points that are greater than 0.01 tons per year. So this is the way for you to kind of customize, see what's on the screen. So again, this is our NOx emissions. This is the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. Let's pick a site here, and if we put your cursor over one of these icons, little blue dots, and right-click, you get an option that says NEI source data. And if we click it, you'll get a summary of the 2020 NEI data for that facility. So if you click it, you get a pop-up that says, here's the EAS ID, the name of the site, the Munson compressor station, the EPA region, the FIPS code, the state it's in, county, city, and latitude, longitude. And then at the bottom there are the emissions from this Munson compressor station. You've got some CO, PM 2.5, PM 10, a little bit of SO2, and some NOx. So this is all reported actual emissions for each of these sites. You have the option here to either just close it, or if you want to take this information and pop it into Excel because you're going to do some further work with it, you can do that by copying to the clipboard. Okay, so we'll circle back just real quickly for the 1 minute and 5 minute ASOS data. So as you know, if you're having to process meteorological data, EPA guidance is that you should use the ASOS data to try to get rid of any calms that could have been reported initially. So like everything else with AERMOD Wizard, the MET data, surface data can be automatically downloaded using AERMOD Wizard. So here's another screenshot of AERMOD Wizard. And in this case, we have clicked the surface checkbox. So everywhere you see the letter S, that is a surface meteorological station. And again, if they have not been used or selected before, they're going to be in a light gray, and it's kind of hard to see on screen. But if you're looking at it on yours, you'll have the same thing. So in this example, this is again Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is the Denton Municipal Airport. We've left-clicked and marked the station, which means it has the circle with the hatching on it. And if we go to the top up here under the MET dropdown, you have an option that says download surface data, and then you have 3 options there, including the 5-minute ASOS data and the 1-minute ASOS data. And again, you pick the ones you want, and you'll get excuse me, a little pop-up box that says, here's the year, or here's a drop-down to pick the year, and then the default is that it's going to think that you want to download all months of the year. If you don't want to do all months of the year, you can go in and check off or turn on whichever ones you want. And then once you have that, you just can click download, and it will go get the data for you automatically. One thing that's new here is we have a summary button that just shows you what files have already been downloaded. So if you click the summary button, you have this array of years and months. And as you look at this, you see that in this example, the only months that have been downloaded has been March and April of 2021. So I can look at this and find out real quickly, oh, did I already download that, or do I need to go get more months or more years, as the case may be. Now, again, the ASOS data, this is from a new website, National Center for Environmental Information. In what had happened was in mid 2022, I believe. The site that we had previously gone to get the ASOS data, I don't want to say stopped working, but the data was no longer there after mid 2022. But it was now being housed at this new NCEI website. And so on the screen here, I have just a couple of links that you can go to find the data sets. One link for the 1-minute data, one link for the 5-minute data. This is just an example of what the 1-minute page looks like. So the data are organized by year first, and then I believe by station. And in this case, this is just an example of what the site looks like. When you're actually using AERMOD Wizard to download the data, you don't have to go to the website. AERMOD Wizard is going to go and get that data for you automatically. But I just want to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like if you should have to go to it outside of AERMOD Wizard. Next, we have an update to the trajectory tool that we have at AERMOD Wizard. And again, we're looking at the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And if you go to a specific surface station and click trajectory, right-click trajectory, and then trajectory setup, you get this little screen that pops up. And you start off, and it tells you, first of all, this is the metadata set that you want to calculate a trajectory off of. You can do either forward trajectory or backward trajectory. And we're going to be looking at the 1-minute ASOS data. And then here on the right is the end location. Where do you want this trajectory to end or start from, as the case may be? And the default is that it says you want to do it at the surface station location. You don't have to do that. If you wanted to figure out where a parcel of air goes from a source, you could drop a source into AERMOD Wizard and center it on that. Or you could put in location, either UTM or lat long from some other location. For example, maybe you wanted to figure out, well, where a parcel of air hit an ambient monitor at the time period that you're in. So you can put in the coordinates of the ambient monitor here. So there's just lots of different ways that you can go forward, go backward, pick your location of interest. And then if we go to the 1-minute tab, again, here you are telling it what year, start time and end time for your either forward or backward trajectory. So you put those in here, and after you do that, you can just say show 1 minute, and shazam, there it is. So we said that this was a backward trajectory ending at the Denton station. So this was at hour 19, hour 18, 17, 16, 15, and it started with hour 14. So that parcel that ended up here at hour 19 started off down here south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Dallas area, and ended up here. And we don't say it or show it here, but the nice thing is that like other parts of AERMOD Wizard, you can take this trajectory and export it to Google Earth. And speaking of Google Earth, we'll talk about some Class 1 areas and how you can export that information to Google Earth. So we've sort of switched locations here. This is the Tennessee North Carolina border, and we are selecting the Class 1 areas checkbox on the left side here. And so what you'll see is the red is Great Smoky Mountain National Park, which is a Class 1 area, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 other Class 1 areas in this screenshot. So there's Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and if you were to hover your cursor over the label or the point, you have a little 4-letter identifier that comes up. It says GRSM, which is how we were going to refer to Great Smoky Mountain National Park. So we'll have that identifier. We'll come back here in just a second. If you Put your cursor on the dot and right click. You can then select receptors and show. And there they are. They're all the official receptors for Great Smoky Mountain National Park. These are the ones that were put in by the federal land managers. So we have the boundaries of our Class 1 areas, and we have our receptors for Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And we can now export them to Google Earth. So if we go to the top of the screen where it says Google Earth, and the only option there is send to Google Earth, we'll get a little pop-up that says, okay, here are all the things you could send to Google Earth right now if you wanted to. And notice that one of the things is trajectory. If there was one on screen, we could show it and send it. But for this one, we're just talking about Class 1 receptors and Class 1 areas. So we check the displayed for both of them. We're going to send them both to Google Earth. Say OK. And we get something like this. And so this, the dark green line here is the boundary of Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And the labels that you see there for each of the receptors are not any sort of concentrations. These are just the elevations above mean sea level for each of these receptors. And these are always in meters. Coming back to meteorology for just a second. So when you want to invoke the AERMOD GUI that's within AERMOD Wizard, the enhancement here is that it now runs EPA's latest version of AERMOD, which is version 23132, which is the same version that is found in Beast. If you're running AERMOD from within Beast, you now have the ability to run 23132 from either Beast or AERMOD Wizard. However, just like the version in Beast, this AERMOD GUI does not support the prog or core keyword. So prog is if you're invoking mesoscale model interface or MMIF prognostic meteorology, and core is the new overwater algorithm that was pulled into AERMOD 23132. So again, those keywords are not in this version of AERMOD. They will come out in Beast version 12.11 and the next AERMOD Wizard, which will be version 1.10. And finally, we'll talk about the find utility. So if you've been a Beast user for a while, you'll know that it has a find function. AERMOD Wizard does too. And in AERMOD Wizard, that utility allows you to find surface meteorological stations, upper air met stations, ambient air monitoring stations, and class 1 areas. So we'll do an example here. Again, this is looking at Great Smoky Mountain National Park and the other class 1 areas that are nearby it. Notice on the left-hand side, we've got surface stations checked. And so everywhere you see an S, that is a surface meteorological station. We've got upper air stations. So everywhere you see a U, which I don't know if we have one on here on this screen, but those are shown. We have the ambient monitor shown, and then above it, there's the drop down for NO2. So everywhere you see an N, that's an ambient monitoring station that measures NO2. And then finally, we have the class 1 areas. Again, Great Smoky Mountain National Park and these other wildlife areas that are shown on screen. So you can right click anywhere on the screen except on any of the icons. And if you right click any of these blank spaces, you'll see the choices: measure line length and angle, center screen on click, play source, and find. So if you go to find, you can select which of the four options you want to search for. Again, surface met station, upper air station, ambient monitoring site, or class 1 area. So for our example, we're going to see if we can find a specific class 1 area. So once you click that, you get this array that pops up that lists all of the class 1 areas that we have. And each record has its little 4-letter acronym, the quadrant of the U.S. that it's in, the type of class 1 area is a National Park Service, Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife, its location, and then its actual name. And these are sorted by alphabetic of the names. So if you click any cell in any column, or better yet, click the header at the top of each column, you get a search field that comes up. So if I click where it says name, I have a search box that pops up and says, okay, what do you want to look for? And let's make it interesting. So I'm going to look for Yosemite National Park and say, okay. And when I say that, it brings it down and it says, okay, here's Yosemite with its acronym and its quadrant and class 1 area type and so forth. If this is what you want to go to, click Find and Zoom. And boom, AERMOD Wizard takes you right out there to California, and there's Yosemite National Park. And you also see the other class 1 areas that are around it. And there's 3 or 4, it looks like. So it's pretty simple. It's not exactly the same way as it's done in Beast, but it is very useful. And then considering that we have a lot more ambient monitors and meteorological stations than you might have in a Beast file as far as sources, it's a pretty powerful tool to have at your disposal. Okay. So with all of that being said, that's it for the new features in AERMOD Wizard. I'll be happy to take any questions now. And just as an FYI, this is my name again and my contact information if you have any questions that you think of down the road. And if you don't have AERMOD Wizard, I think we still have a 10-day trial that you can download if you want to test drive it and see if it's something that would be useful to you in your modeling work.